People are on social media all day, every day, and brands must go where the people are. Social media for business is no longer optional. It's an important way to reach your customers, gain valuable insights, and grow your brand. With the TikTok trend going on, you can use this platform to boost your marketing strategy and reach out to more consumers. Listen to our marketing podcast as Nigel Thomas shares how you can utilize TikTok as a platform to market your business. He will also guide us on the suitable genres, video timing, and posting frequencies so that we may make the most of TikTok.
I want to welcome you to the Dominate Your Market podcast, where we interview leaders, CEOs, founders, and high-impact business development professionals to get their insights on how you can grow your business efficiently, build an amazing company, and still have a life. Today's guest is Nigel Thomas. Nigel left the corporate world at 26 and spent the last 4 years building 3 marketing agencies. He has consulted with 8-figure D2C. And for you folks out there that don't know what D2C is, it's direct-to-consumer brands, and ran various sales teams. He is now the CEO of Alpha Inbound, focusing on building their reputation in the D2C landscape through business development, partnerships, and sales. Today, he is going to talk about the business opportunities on TikTok. Nigel, welcome to the show, bud.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Mike. It's an absolute pleasure. I can say one thing. I'm not going to be doing any dances for you today.
Listen, part of my intro here is like, okay, here's how it goes. I'm not a user of TikTok, so I'm a business guy, right? I'm a marketing guy. But my generation, I turned 59. I hate to admit that, but I turned 59 a couple of months ago, and I got on it early on, right? Early adopter. And really early on, as you just said, holy crap, it was people dancing of all ages, male, females, to what the most popular song. And I got on there, and I'm all about value, just like this podcast. I'm all about bringing the heat, bringing the value. Yeah. And way back when, I think it damaged me because, obviously TikTok, like every platform, has evolved. Yeah. But my picture of it is just like you said. My picture was literally men, like 50-year-old men on there dancing to the same song as 12-year-old girls. So
I was just going to, sorry, carry on.
No, I want you to dispel that myth. And I've got some great questions for you, but you're the marketing pro as far as social media and TikTok. So I really want to get your take on, how businesses, our listeners, a lot of our listeners are B2B, but there's also B2C listeners as well. But your background is so good and you've been marketing for so long that I'm really excited to hear your take on TikTok and how can they leverage TikTok at this point?
Yeah, so let's get one myth out of the way. It's not just for kids. The fastest growing age groups on TikTok, I believe, are over 30. And there's people with real disposable income. And then another thing is this. When people say to you, I can't run, ads on TikTok, or I can't build a platform on TikTok, so I won't have the right audience. In February this year, TikTok crossed 1 billion users, 1 billion with a B, that is. So if you don't think that you can find someone out of 1 billion people that's going to be interested in what you do as a business, I'd seriously question, what you're doing in this world, because everyone has an opportunity on TikTok. And it's not just about dancing now. The platform's gone a lot further. And there's different ways to do it, which we can get into. Yep. It's definitely a different ball game. We see a lot of companies try and use the same tactics they do on Facebook and Instagram and apply them to TikTok. It's its own, beast of a platform, and you have to understand how people consume the content there. But there's a lot of opportunity, Mike, and I'm happy to talk about how to approach that best for B2B as well as obviously direct to consumer.
Well, one thing you said, I've not done my research in the sense of how much it's grown. So a billion, like that tells you right there, right? That out of 1 billion people, there are people consuming some content in there that would be B2B potential clients, B2C potential clients. And then also you've got spouses, whether it's male and female, right? Because we've got this society now where both men and women are cranking, really going hard. So it could be a man, it could be a woman, but then they share it with their spouse and say, holy crap, I saw this thing. honey, you might go check this out. And there you go, right? So I definitely want you to dive into it a little bit for sure, because I definitely want to know, like, why should a business spend any time on TikTok and invest on TikTok? I mean, I know you said the billion, but let's just go a little bit deeper for the listeners.
Yeah, for sure. So I think it depends how you're building your business, right? I mean, everyone talks about content these days. If let's just use the example of your podcast. So you could definitely grow your podcast more if you started leveraging TikTok content. And we're actually going to be doing this at the start of next year. And this is quite a controversial one, the whole Andrew Tate thing. So Andrew Tate's got his opinions and stuff. And, you know, I don't really stand by those. I'm just looking at things from a marketing and a strategic point of view. So what he did so fantastically well is, sure, he spoke about all these controversial subjects, but from a strategic point of view, what was happening is it was short form content that was taken from long form content, and it was spliced up across the platform. So that, from a strategic point of view, is, again, it's about getting people to stimulate curiosity within what we call hooks, which is the first really 2.5 to 5 seconds of these videos. And that's really, you know, what you need to be focusing on. Now, as a business, that could obviously drive people to your website. It could drive people, in my opinion, it should drive people to a longer form piece of content where obviously you can build that trust. But you can be used for all sorts of things. Sure, it's on the direct to consumer standpoint, but if we're talking B2B, I'm assuming obviously price points are going to be a lot higher. Clients are going to be very long, are going to have long contracts. Point being, apart from that 3% of the market that's ready to buy, you're going to need to build some trust in the market. So if you can use this to grab their attention, to then point them in the direction of where you want to build that trust with them, that's an incredible strategy and something that you should definitely look at. I think one thing that's important, though, is to understand that you need to put some effort into this thing. And if you can't do it, that's fair enough. But you'll probably need to hire some creators, or you'll need to hire some video editors who do understand the platform. And obviously, once you've understood the long form impact this can have on your business, you might be more willing to make that investment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you know what makes me think about is whenever I talk to a client, I always talk about like having a champion in the company. I refer to it as a champion.
Yes.
It could be a social media champion, it could be a content marketing champion, it could whatever, right? Pick the sector, but and I will say this, I do envision it's the younger crowd is heavily using it, right? I mean,
yeah, for sure. You're right.
So if you get somebody in a company, and probably let's be fair, probably most likely a younger woman, most likely, but in the company, to say, hey, listen, are you on TikTok? Yeah, I love it. Okay, let's talk about this for a minute. Let's have you be the champ. And they probably would love it, right? They would be like, really? Like sure. part of my job is doing some TikToks for the company. Wow.
It's that actually, right? Because I'm actually quite big. I say, like, I put most of my time to LinkedIn, Mike. And what I find really interesting is now, from a B2B perspective, the companies, and this is more of a HR thing, to be honest, and recruitment, but the companies that are empowering their team members and employees to actually post about content and to engage and build, almost like they're all micro influencers for the company. Not only does it help out with B2B marketing in terms of bringing in those clients, actually, when it comes to recruitment, it's a really good strategy as well. And I think some of the companies, people are scared to post that content because there's that whole, obviously, gray area of, is that professional? That's about my personal life. I am very confident that within the next 5 to 10 years, the companies that empower their team members to make that content are going to be in a way better position, because, again, this creator economy thing, it's not going away. It's going in the direction that everyone who owns a little piece of the internet is going to do really well for themselves.
You make a really good point, because every time I consult with a client of mine, I go look at his link. It's typically a man. I work mostly with men. It's just who I jive with. But so I typically go to their LinkedIn, and of course it's not optimized, and it's not good. And then I go into the internal team members, and it could be like the people that are in the sales departments, the marketing departments, and all of that. That's not optimized, right? And I'll have a meeting. I truly do have a meeting and say, hey guys, let's at least bare minimum on LinkedIn. I want to get back to TikTok, but bare minimum, have a consistent brand across the company on the platform. And that could be just the banner, and that could be optimizing the title. Well, you make a good point on TikTok, where I think it would be interesting to, I know it would be a hard sell for my clients right now, because most of my clients, I've got manufacturing clients, I've got general contracting clients, very, very blue collar, just, in the trenches type businesses. And probably if I said TikTok to one of my clients, they'd look at me like, what are you talking about? What?
Yeah.
What? Right.
It's those kind of markets that takes one disruptor to come in there and make it, how can I say it better? Make it sexy. Take that behind the scenes look to it and create most importantly, this is the thing that most people need to understand about TikTok, creating stories that people can get behind.
Well, and you said behind the walls, that's really cool, because I do talk about that a lot too, is tell your business story, tell the stories within the company, not personal stories, but the founder typically has a story, right? Like, here's why I bought the company, or in those things, you could break those up into 3 or 4 or 5 videos, right? And just bite size.
Yeah, I mean, way more than that, to be honest. If you again, let's just say, for example, because the way I'm looking at it, Mike, is you want to be strategic with your time because everyone's busy. So if you recorded a podcast like this, you're already doing the long form piece of content. Then you can split those videos up, and maybe you just put the hooks on them, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But that way, you've already made the long form piece of content, and then obviously you're splicing it up. Again, you have to, that's where some people go wrong, because then they just literally take 2 minutes of a long video and just post it out somewhere else. When I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about getting it ready for consumption on that platform. But you can still be strategic about shooting that content once, and then obviously making bite-sized clips to drive the attention from different platforms. So you kind of get this flywheel effect. I mean, if we take the principles of Amazon, of how they've created this flywheel with third-party sellers, that's the what you want to create with content. A lot of people, the best people in content now, that's what they're doing. They have content going out on different platforms, and it all works together. And TikTok is one of the attention ones, and we definitely see this for direct to consumer brands. It's driving in attention from very new audiences, and for me, from a B2B side, that's something you should be excited about.
Well, it's interesting. Well, what you say, my poor podcast editor, I just added to his list of things to do. Because, exactly. I mean, well, we've got these videos here, right? And right now we've just changed if you looked at my LinkedIn, we're showing some short form videos on LinkedIn to try to test if we get a little bit more engagement. So before, we were doing a beautiful professional image, very polished image. And then I was like, I don't know. I mean, it looks great, but the engagement isn't there. So now the last 2
I think it'd be better on TikTok, honestly.
Well, you got me. You got me already going. So I will get back to you on how that turns out.
Yeah.
But I do like what you're saying, because I think there are a lot of people that consume short form content. Well, look at what's happening on YouTube. Shorts.
Exactly. Why do you think that shorts?
Massive. They're getting as many views as the long form.
Yeah. Exactly.
If not more.
Why do you think YouTube did shorts?
Probably TikTok.
Exactly, because they saw the amount of people that were flooding away from the platform. And obviously Facebook have seen that. They've gone down the metaverse route, which that's a whole different conversation. But that's why that's one of the reasons they've done it. It is really successful. And unfortunately, I'm not too worried about it, because look, we're having a great conversation here, Mike, but the attention spans are shrinking somewhat. So you got to be strategic with that.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you next is, can you give like 2 or 3 examples of types of content that, like, a company, or let's say this person in the company, let's say they're bootstrapping it. Let's say they're not hiring, a TikTok professional or a social media professional. Let's say we've got a young woman in the company that lives off her phone, and she says, I'll do it. What would be some examples of some types of content that you think could get some traction?
Yeah. So the first thing that I'll say is, just like with any other marketing and any other sales, you need to understand your market and your customer. You need to understand their pain points. You need to understand what keeps them up at night. So I'm going to assume that you have that foundation of knowledge. If you don't, just like with all the other strategies, it won't work out, because I think there's a danger sometimes. We say these strategies, but people say that when they've obviously done the research and they've got years of experience. My thing is, do all of that first, understand your market, get on the phone with ideal customers. And if you have all of that information, the stuff I'm going to tell you next will do really well for you. If you don't, probably what's going to happen is you're just going to shoot things that people don't really resonate with, and you're not going to get any traction. And then you're going to turn around and say TikTok doesn't work for B2B, when in reality it's because you didn't do your research properly. So there's my rant over, Mike. Now, in terms of the actual content, this is how, this is kind of how we do it for the D2C brands, but it can work for B2B. And just like in terms of a simple concept, like I told you, you want to focus on the hooks. So they're the first 2.5 to 3 seconds of the video. Now, actually, just so happens yesterday, me and my team put together, maybe I can share it to you or your audience. We put together the top 100 hooks that we've tested, spending like over 20 million on Facebook and TikTok ads.
Wow.
So I could share that to you. No worries.
Yeah,
but what you want to do, let's just say, let's go with the podcast example. So you take a 15-second video from a podcaster clip. Now, for that 15-second video, you want to have, let's just say, maybe 3 to 5, 2.5 to 3 second videos right at the start, which is what we call the hook, because that is where you're going to move the needle the most. That is when people are scrolling through a news feed, is what they're going to catch your attention on. So that's where you want to put your resource. Now, let me just give you an example. Bearing in mind, these were mainly from the D2C side, but a lot of them, they can apply. And obviously, it's the principle behind it. So for example, here, this is a hook. I just found the best something hack. Then the 5-star something you've just been waiting for. Like, these are the start of the video. This is, and obviously you're going to come in there with a bit more passion, and you're going to be able to insert certain pain points around it. Then, for example, audience. So let's just say, I don't know, if you were, a dentist and you were talking to potential patients, this is how to, and then insert something to do with their pain point. So these are the things that we're saying right at the start of the video. Here's another one. I want to show you something today. See that I'm really generating that curiosity, but ideally, again, I'm saying something about the pain points of your ideal customers within that first 2.5 seconds. So it's going to generate curiosity, so they're going to watch the rest of the video, and it's actually going to resonate with that person. So they're going to take the required call to action at the end, so you get a better retention. So yeah, like I said, this is how I would structure the video. So is really get that clip, but focus on doing a few different variations, as many as you can. And by the way, you don't have to be in a fancy studio. If you haven't got the equipment, you can just literally hold the phone up. And as long as you say the right things, you say it with some passion, you really believe in what you're saying, you practice your tonality, really have that enthusiasm, then you'll be okay. And do that, like I said, 3 to 5 different variations of that same video, the first 2.5 seconds. And if you don't know how to edit the video, use someone on Fiverr,
for sure,
or one of the other platforms like Upwork. It'll be like $10, $20. Once you found someone good, you can keep going back to them. That's what I propose doing. And ideally, you need to get some sort of consistency in terms of obviously posting this out. And the last thing, one thing I just want to add to that very quickly is, again, just like with other platforms, you can look at, so try and find 10 to 15 people on TikTok that are already doing what you're doing in your industry. Because if you don't know the pain points and everything else, these guys will have already done all the research for you. And then you can also use their editing style. So that's another way to do it. So, but I'd probably do both anyway. So try and find, 10 to 15 people doing what you're doing on TikTok, and go that way. But that's like the strategy. One of the main strategies we're using that works for ads and it works for organic. I just went through a lot of stuff, and you might have specific questions, but hopefully that gives some sort of insight into what it takes, Mike.
I do have a couple of questions, but first and foremost, this is interesting. So I've been video marketing since 2001 for 20 years.
Yeah.
I was shooting, I launched the world's first golf fitness membership site back in 2001. It was really cool, very cool. And it was video based, right? And back then, the only thing that there was YouTube. And so I shot these very instructional golf fitness videos with exercises and all this stuff, right? But what I learned was the first 5 seconds, and this is what I tell all my clients when it comes to video marketing. You've got and not TikTok, by the way, but you've got 5 seconds to hook them.
Yeah.
If you do not say something that catches their attention, I always say this, reaches out and grabs them by the throat through the screen. And they're like, that's the typical me. That's how I talk. I'm very, very aggressive, but that's true though, right? And so you just said half that time frame. You just said, so I'm curious on that.
2.5 now. It's not 5 anymore, Mike.
That is incredible. So literally, because 2.5 seconds is like, how many words, like a word count, what is that?
Yeah, it's like less.
It's like boom, so whatever is happening in 2.5 seconds better be pretty good.
Yeah, 100%. And that's why, as well as obviously concentrating on that first 2.5 seconds to say something that's going to generate curiosity, you need to do a bit of testing. But because it's all in the 2.5 seconds, the smart people put their resource in the 2.5 seconds by making more variations of that, as opposed to the rest of the video, which, just like of a subject line of an email, if no one opens it, no one's going to read the goddamn email anyway. So you're spending your time on the wrong thing.
So how long are the typical TikTok videos in their entirety, the whole thing?
Usually like 15 seconds.
Really? That's it, 15 seconds?
Yeah, I mean, it can obviously depend. Like, some of them go over a few different videos, depends on the subject, but they're the ones that we tend to run, especially on the ad side of things.
Because when you look at, because I have gotten on TikTok before and watched some things where people ramble on and on.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, this is what I can say. I would also say that obviously we're mainly doing direct to consumer, but even if I look at some of the things on the B2B side, most of them are pretty short form, maybe like 30 seconds. Like,
that's
if you're again, but yeah, it's very short. I mean, you've got to think. Actually, I'm going to say this because this is going to be really valuable for the audience. When you get a chance, if you don't already use the platform, look at someone who does use the platform.
I'm going to do it.
At what they do. Because this is, I can show you. I mean, I don't know where my phone is, but here it is. What they'll do is they'll go like this. And then swipe in left, right, center. Like, it's ridiculous. It's like, wow, is that person even human? They almost look like a robot. It's crazy, because obviously the algorithm's extremely powerful, and it's indoctrinated people to just scroll like crazy and swipe. And that's how they're consuming content on this platform. So they're not here to listen to a 1-hour podcast. You know what I'm saying? So think about that. When they go to Spotify or they go to YouTube, they're there to consume a longer form piece of content. So why would we not play, by the rules of this game? So that's what I would say. If for anyone who wants to kind of understand how people are consuming content, watch someone consuming it, because you'll have, it'll open a lot of doors and challenge your opinion on a lot of things.
Okay, so if you're a business and you create an account on TikTok, should it be like, ABC Johnson Company is the TikTok?
No, I do person. So I do yourself. Person. Yeah. So for me, it would be, for example, it would be Nigel Thomas, or for example, like some of the companies we work with, we use their brand's name, but something that works out really well for running ads is we whitelist accounts. So, we can pay that influencer X amount, or they have a contract with them, they're usually fine to do it, and we'll run ads through there. So if you had the option, I definitely go down the personal route, because it's all about that trust factor. People will build deeper trust if it's a person there. And that's just going to be better long term. I'd say the only potential downside is, let's say you're a startup and you've got a lot of investment behind you. Then if you're not looking to be the face of the company 5 to 10 years down the line, that's where that might become a sticking point. But for most people, that isn't a problem.
Well, one thing that occurred to me right away was, with the Great Resignation, and the other big phrase is quiet quitting, right? Those are the two. So let's say you get, Sally in the company says, I'll do it. And she does it, and 2 months later she quits.
I meant the founder, really, to be honest.
Boy, I can't imagine getting any of my founders doing it. TikTok. They're they're in their 50s. They're running companies. So at that point, what would you do?
Yeah, I'd probably run. I mean, it comes back to, it depends what the content's going to be about. Like, why are they? You shouldn't just be on TikTok for the sake of being on TikTok. You need some sort of strategy there. So it depends on what the strategy is going to be. But I would say, yes, it'd be good to find someone in the company who would do it. But then you probably want to put it through the company page then, if you're thinking of it from that standpoint, to avoid risk.
And that's what I was asking you. So there are company pages on TikTok.
Yeah.
Okay. And is there a lot of company pages? I mean, is there a lot of? Okay. Yeah. So not necessarily do you have to have a real personal TikTok account. It could be a company page.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Because my listeners right away would be like, "What? That's no." They would probably think this whole thing was, "No, I'm not doing it." Right. But if they can get, if you can get a company page, and you could potentially have a couple of people doing it, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what influencers are, right? Like, you pay people to come and do it for you.
Yep. How often should somebody let's say a company? How often should people be posting?
Yeah, so again, we focus more on the ad side of things, but what I've seen and talked to, for example, I was just talking to the founder of Euphoria the other day, Fiona Chan, her name is. You should check those guys out on TikTok, by the way, because she's amazing at it, and she has this whole science to go viral. A lot of what we've actually spoken about today, but I've completely forgotten the question. What was it, Mike?
Gosh.
How many times should they post? Daily.
Daily,
ideally.
Yeah. Okay. So like as a podcast, because I'm thinking of trying it.
Yeah.
But for me, so if we've got a podcast, so basically we do about 2 podcasts a week, right?
Yeah.
2 recordings a week. So theoretically, are you saying break each podcast up into 2 or 3 slices that have hooks on them, and then that's what you're posting?
Yes. Yeah, I'd say so. If you can try and spice it up a little bit, that would be good. But yeah, you want to get some consistency there, because at the end of the day, as Robert Cialdini said, one of the 6 things of persuasion is consistency. So you want to be showing your face there a lot.
Now what about, so I know you're on the ad side, but on the organic side, do you have a call to ad? So how do people go, oh yeah, that's ABC company, and I keep seeing their things are really good, I want to go check them out? Is that a call to action at the end of each TikTok, or is that the TikTok profile? What is that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we mainly focus on the ad side of things. So you can I'd put it in the creative. As if I was you, again, it depends like who is making the creative, but I'd actually put it in the creative, a call to action. So for example, I don't know, let's just say it is your podcast. It's like, check it out on Spotify, for example. I don't know. You would have a link, or you'd have a clip of where they could go to find it. So you give them that next step. And even though they've got the button to click, that would probably be good, as well as obviously they can see it in the profile.
Okay. So you don't think like a call to action at the end would be to, because a lot of people talk about social media, and anytime you do a sales, like Instagram or even Facebook.
But but it's a call to action to what? It's a call to action to a long form piece of content, which is going to be valuable. That's okay. If you're asking me, are we going to do call to actions to sell us on your services? No, that's probably not okay.
Yeah. So it's basically selling the extension of the content.
Exactly. Content. Yeah, because like I said, it's what you want to do is, for me at least, this is the way I see TikTok. And I know a lot, like some D2C brands, they built their entire business on TikTok. From a B2B standpoint, in my opinion, what you probably want to do, because you've already got resources on other platforms, is use TikTok as a new discovery channel. So it's right at the start of your sales funnel. And then you're feeding people into different areas where you can build more trust with them. So that's how personally I'd see it. That's the strategy I'd take. It's worked for us. Again, people have different opinions, But that's how I'd see it, Mike. And yeah, putting this somewhere else where you can nurture them, you can build that trust. And usually that would be through either a newsletter or a longer form piece of content like a podcast.
Well, okay, so you've definitely opened my eyes up to TikTok again. So I'm going to have to download the app again.
Oh,
because I
careful,
check it.
Mike, careful.
No,
Very
well, I don't know.
addictive.
Well, a lot of people do say that they get on TikTok and it's just all of a sudden 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Because the
20 minutes.
algorithm's so powerful. The way the algorithm's wired
Jeez.
is essentially just geared to push anything that just is going to go viral into your newsfeed straight away. Most algorithms aren't designed like that, but obviously it's to make it as addictive as possible. So, because look, at the end of the day, the more people spend that time on the platform, the more money they make as a business from ads.
Yeah, it's all about attention. Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for talking about TikTok. I do appreciate it. One last question. What's a recent book you've read that has really had an impact on you? What's a recent book?
Yeah, for sure. I think Atomic Habits has been really good. And maybe you've had this one before because it's a really popular book, but actually just how to really systemize, your routines. But actually, I've taken some of those principles into business. For example, you look at the environment that people are within. One of the things he says in that book is actually the greats, they're not actually that disciplined. They just put themselves in environments where they don't need to be that disciplined. So that's a great book for creating routines, but more importantly, creating systems and structure that you can apply into all areas of life. That was a good one. Have you read it?
Yeah, it's Atomic Habits by James Clear.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, James Clear. Yeah, that's a phenomenal book. That's a very, very good one that you pulled out there. So anybody that wants to find out more about what you do or just connect with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, sure. So if you go to Google, type in Nigel Thomas Alpha Inbound, my LinkedIn profile should pop up there. I post at the time recording every weekday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And I post predominantly about paid social for direct to consumer brands, but you should be able to take some marketing principles there and apply it to what you're doing. And also, I just want to extend the invite. I love to connect with other entrepreneurs on LinkedIn and hear what they're doing. So I'd also love that as well, Mike.
Now is the website www.alphainbound.com?
Yeah, alphainbound.com.
Yep.
If you're interested to speak to us about the paid social side, if you're a direct to consumer brand, then yeah, alphainbound.com. You can find out more information there.
And we'll have that on the show notes on the website, and we'll promote it on all the platforms as well. But Nigel, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and one last thing I wanted to say, Mike, is hi to TikTok, because obviously my face is going to be spliced up and put out there from this podcast, right?
Very good. That was smart of you. Good job. I like it.
No
Nigel,
worries.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care, Mike. Appreciate it.
You've just listened to the Dominate Your Market podcast with CEO, business consultant, and author Michael Peterson. Growth-minded CEOs hire Michael to explode their revenues, build an amazing company, and create a transformational mindset that encapsulates growth, success, and ultimately happiness. His book, Dominate Your Market, is creating quite a stir in the marketplace. Go to dominateyourmarketbook.com and get your first chapter free.